People who work at 5-star hotels, what type of shit goes on that management doesn't want people to know. Here's one taken from the opposite end. I'm really bad at rolling joints. I left the shitty joint with my stash and papers on the dresser. I come back to a nicely rolled joint. I don't know if any was missing. But thank you Hard Rock LV staff. I spent 10 years in the boutique and 5-star hotel world. Got stories for days. But here is my favorite that sums up hospitality former anyways. Our concierge was Leclerc's door. Had all the connections. This dude could get you into the French Laundry same day. He would often greet guests with sangria and sprigs of mint from his garden. Sometimes he had lemon slices from his tree too. He loved to tell guests all about his garden and they ate it up. Yeah, that's all bullshit. Mint, lemon, and any other garnish we got from the local grocery store. The sangria. Cheapest boxed stuff we could find. But he sold the story like no other. At the end of the day, it worked. I'm convinced most people don't know the difference between good and shitty liquor. I did wine sampling at stores and people would enjoy a wine until you told them it was 6. Or the opposite, it was gross until they found out it was 30. Honestly same. I would often send people to smaller mom and pop vineyards. But it had to be sold as this boutique wine experience. If you told someone, so there's this little farm down the road that sells some great wine. You literally just drive up and meet the farmer owners. Since they don't do reservations, they wouldn't go. But if you said I personally know the so-and-sos, they have this micro vineyard tucked away from the main road, where they make some of the best pinot in the insert Namahe Valley. I highly recommend it. They are so small they don't even take reservations. Otherwise they would book up, and I'd never be able to get you in. The guests would coo and bolt for it. Best wine I've had has been cheapo stuff, and I've tasted a lot of wine back in my hotelier days. I worked at a Ritz-Carlton a few years back. It's literally the same as anywhere else. The hotel staff is amazing at their job, but on their personal time they're just as ducked as everyone else. The kitchen staff had a few folks with drug issues and had to be sent home a couple times because of it. In my time there I saw 2 waiters get fired due to embezzlement. The turnover rate for management was very high because they didn't pay enough for the area. The staff parties were wild to say the least. We weren't allowed to greet celebrities by name since they wanted to be anonymous. So we would use their alias that day. Some were greeted by prostitutes or escorts who were always super nice to everyone. A regular would rent out a room for a day, once a month, and make 30-40k that day from clients, celebrities, business guys, you name it. Crazy. I've always wanted to know how does a celebrity's alias for a booking get advised to the hotel? Does their assistant or whoever makes the reservation say that the booking is for Jeff Megastar or whatever the celeb's name is, but they will be traveling under Phil McCracken or whatever? And how does the person doing the check-in know that the person standing in front of them who they may or may not recognize is going to be under McCracken? I've worked with a few celebrities and athletes in the past, in a different capacity than hospitality. The ones I worked with always used fake names. Plus their room was actually reserved and paid for by their assistants, so their name never showed on paperwork. However, since they were listed as staying in the room, their name was added to the card, and that's where the fake name comes in. One guy, the late author Tom Clancy, always used the name of his lead character, Jack Ryan, when getting a room. I have worked at 2 hotels that are rated by Forbes, formerly Mubly, and randomly inspected frequently. And there is a very specific checklist of things the hotel restaurants must do offer in order to keep their rating. We always had to be suspicious of any single diners because they could possibly be inspectors. So you could be a regular Joe Schmo, but if you are dining alone you are going to get the 5-star treatment. Once we had a particular woman staying at the hotel and somehow management figured out and confirmed she was an inspector. They literally took security cam stills and printed them out to give to all employees so we would know who she was. I still remember her name was Katrina. Something else interesting, one of the 5-star restaurants I worked at in a 5-star hotel would frequently be closed for private events. There was usually a contract written beforehand stating the group must spend a minimum amount of money. We got automatic gratuity on whatever that minimum was, but the goal was to go over, so we would make more money. The people at the events usually didn't know these details, they weren't the ones paying, and towards the end of the night, if they hadn't reached the minimum we would have to start pouring the most expensive wine and liquors to meet the goal. Who wants a few rounds of Macallan 25 doubles etc. And people still tipped cash on the open bars, so it was easy to walk away with 500 a night in tips after those parties. It was the easiest money I ever made. Eat a Macallan. Ha. Please forgive me, I'm a lowly tequila drinker. If I ever go to one of those hotels, I'll act suspicious then. Thanks for the tip. There are a few things that increase the likelihood of the resort thinking you are an inspector. 1. Single traveler. 2. 2-night stay. 3. Book through the hotel, not a third-party site. 4. Inquires about specific resort amenities. Do you have a shoeshine service? And makes reservations at a number of on-property restaurants when booking the room. 5. No over-the-top demanding behavior. Inspectors are supposed to fly under the radar and document what happens, not make a scene. 6. Tip your bellman. Okay, that has nothing to do with inspectors, but come on people, if you're in the use. Bellmen make a tip minimum wage and we are an optional service at most hotels. Don't take the option of using a tipped employee and then not tip that employee, assuming you received good service. You're more than welcome to carry your own bags for free. Corporate intern events, where the kids would get plied with alcohol. Infuriating. We had one company annually bring 80 interns as part of a site visit tour, and it was a nightmare. I was sure someone would die every year. One year there were 3 hospitalizations though, and one of the boys sent the hospital bill to the hotel. To be clear, the entire FB team knew about the event and were very vigilant about refusing service. We were not involved or liable in his medical issue. The audacity, particularly because he and all of his intern colleagues trashed everything. We had to prepare the lobby by removing sculptures and porcelain plant pots. One year we started always removing a kind of sharp-cornered bookcase because too many drunk interns had hurt themselves on it. There were bodily fluids everywhere and linens destroyed beyond continued use. Plumbing broke daily. There was always smoking damage in some rooms. But all the adults were useless, of course. And all adults were culpable in providing alcohol to the underage people. The company accepted the bill for the damage every year and always came back. And we would add literally everything we could. We would tack weeks worth of room nights onto their bill because we had to keep dozens of rooms out of service while damage was repaired. The company paid for everything we camped for complaining guests too. They also paid for anything we had to replace. And they were so used to the damage fees we would just throw things in there sometimes. Like a treadmill finally broke during their residence. But did one of their guests break it? Don't know. Didn't care. They bought us a new treadmill. We were one of 3 hotels on this annual tour. Oh my god, another internship story. Different company would send us groups of students and trainees a few times a year. If their founder was in town too, he would always try to get keys to one of the girls' rooms. Because they're really my rooms. No, sir. Absolutely not. He tried every time. We would have to staff additional night audit to be stationed on the group floor all night because the GM was afraid somebody would eventually be worn down or scared into complying. Or worse, totally okay with it and not seeing the problem at all. Don't go on trips for your internships, my guys. Didn't work at one, but delivered newspapers to one. The prostitution thing was something the desk saw a lot. The best one was when the gentleman got robbed by 2 young ladies and immediately demanded the front desk call the cops. When the desk asked if he wanted to call the cops and tell them he hired 2 hookers illegal, he suddenly just grunted and marched up to his room. I worked night audit for a while and had one dude call a hooker, enjoy her services, and then refuse to pay her. She came to me, said she'd been raped. So I call the cops. Dude gets rousted from bed at 3 AM to talk to the cops in the lobby. The whole time she's yelling, "If you need a DNA sample, I've got some in my mouth." The cops are trying to explain to the guy that his options are paying her or going to jail for rape and solicitation. And I'm trying to use my best customer service skills To keep everyone quiet and gently hint to the dude where the at the moment is. The best part was, this was night 1 of a week-long stay, so I got to see him every day after that. Worked in 5-star hotels in Beverly Hills. Boy do I have stories. Sheik picks up a hooker in the bar, takes her to his room. She roofies him and steals tens of thousands of dollars of cash, watches and valuables. Husbands who will say hello to staff with their mistress on their arm on Thursday night and their wife on Friday night. Famous teen celebrity left a room full of needles and various drug paraphernalia behind for housekeeping to clean up. Middle Eastern royalty ships in multiple Ferraris and Lamborghinis to the hotel from their home country to drive for the week. Caught drag racing later that night by the cops in the neighborhoods of Beverly Hills. Largest checkout bill I've ever seen was roughly $2 million for guest who rented out an entire floor of suites for 3 weeks. Promptly paid via wire transfer. Had to procure $100k cash for a guest whose wife wanted to shop on Rodeo Drive the next morning. The local bank doesn't even have that much. Had to get an armored car from the Central LA Bank branch to deliver. The list goes on. My so worked for a fancy hotel. The building owners, not the chain. The actual building itself, came to visit. He was on the Forbes billionaire list. He was a nice man who had buffet lunches every day and tipped every staff members he saw a crisp 100 every time he saw them. Housekeeper walking past. 100 bartender setting up. 100 shift swap. 100 on the way in and out. Never ever I repeat. Use a chocolate fountain from a hotel or banquet hall. Picture this, it's an expensive ass Sunday brunch. Well, little to me, just double-fisted strawberries directly into that chocolate. Bit into both strawberries then triple dipped into the chocolate again. And some old rich lady just sneezed on it. And somebody else just dropped their snack into it. The best part, that chocolate gets strained and saved for the next week's brunch. Chocolate is way too expensive to throw away. Chocolate also does this thing where it'll seize if it has the wrong moisture content from people dipping fruit, and the juice is going into the chocolate. So it'll get so thick it won't run through the machine. Wanna know how they fix that? They add canola oil until it's smooth again. So, yeah. Next time you're at a wedding and they have a chocolate fountain, think of this post. Think of this post when you dip into that dirty ass watered down with oil chocolate. Watching for signs of sex trafficking. Lots of cheating spouses there under fake names and you can't confirm if they're there when the spouse calls pissed. Jacuzzi and swimming pool deaths, usually from alcohol. Guests expose themselves to female staff frequently, especially housekeepers and room service. People will legit give you keys to their rooms. Sometimes dealing with really shitty organizations for their banquets, income, etc. One cool thing is that you can buy pillows, mattresses, etc. from many hotel brands if you really enjoyed your sleep at a hotel. I used to work at a hotel when I was maybe 20 where this man came in with 2 young women, definitely teens, and never let them speak. They'd come back somewhat bruised. Then he started coming in with other men and the girls, everything paid in cash. My manager said it happens. Leave it. A woman told me the next morning she thinks she was raped by the same men. She woke up naked in her room, beat up, and with pain in her genitals after having drinks with them. Management again. Leave it. She's crazy and was drunk. So I called the police and corporate and left that day. Detective called me a couple days later for a report and to come in and ID the man as well as some customers of the man. Turns out the girls were underage and not from here is all I was told. Manager was investigated as a participant and fired. Never trust glass in rooms. Grass are so stretched thin on time that they will clean the glasses with the same rags they clean the bathroom. After all, their goal is to make the room look clean. I worked as a gra in a 5-diamond 4 years and there was over a year period that went by where we didn't get a clean glass delivery. We didn't have dishwashers in the room. So management was complicit. This was in a 5-diamond. One of the top resorts in the world. Never trust glass in hotel rooms. Dead people. In some places there's a reasonable chance somebody has died in your bed. Obviously it varies with the type of hotel and its clientele. But some places you get deaths weekly, not that the hotel is unsafe, but unfit old people overexerting themselves. One place I worked, maybe 40% of the beds had been died in. Bed bugs. They happen in every hotel. You might be paying $5k a night, but your luggage was in the hold with everyone else's. If there's only 1 or 2 bugs and none in the adjacent rooms diamond style. So above, below, and both sides, then you brought them in. You know what I never saw happen? Maid stealing. Everyone always points at the maids when they lose stuff, but we always found it. No way the maids are risking their jobs over your used iPad or mall jewelry. With tips they make pretty decent money. I worked at one of the premier hotels at a ski resort in the country top 10. Met celebrities, royalty, politicians, athletes. Hockey players are the nicest athletes by a wide margin. Royalty is great or more likely awful. A list celebrities want to be left alone or treated as just another person. Politicians are bigger assholes when they're with their families. Saw lots of sex, drugs, underage drinking, escorts, the usual. I was most amazed by how nice staff were to guests when management continually made our lives harder and shittier. We just let it roll off our backs and keep smiling until we just quit. We were paid so little and respected so little by management. If you weren't thick-skinned then you quit by week's end. Best thing I saw was the hotel dog, think alpine dog, that people can pet. Kids can get woken up by him in the morning. Plays on the ski slopes, etc. Well, he escaped his pen, made straight for the high-end restaurant, and went hog wild. Jumped on a few tables and scarfed 100 steaks like they were Emmys. Me and another guy saw it. We worked during the ski day and cleaned up into the evening, so it was just him and I finishing up in our apartment at the time, which was by the dog's kennel. We both saw he was going to escape and we could have stopped it, but we just wanted to watch the world burn. Greatest day of work there by far. The scale. Management wants things to be automatic for you. A person there when you need them and every item you could need before you need it. But the scale of that is purposefully hidden. For example, you see your housekeeper. You might see that there are 5 other housekeepers on that floor, a houseman per floor and a special request delivery person. If you look closely, you don't see the 4-6 desk workers manning the radios, so that we know when to enter certain rooms. Who wants special pillows? How we manage the 3 rooms that all want service at 1 PM, or replacing rooms that asked for no service. You don't see the 6 supervisors spot checking checkout rooms for cleanliness, nor do you see the laundry teams, plural. Sheets and guest laundry are separate, and guest is split into dry cleaning and non-dry clean. You might see the public parlor attendants, but you probably won't see the team cleaning the pool or deep cleaning the gym sauna. At 7:30 AM every morning, the service area just explodes with activity, like you kicked 2 ant nests at once. 60 housekeepers on a single shift. Guess it's a slow day, and that's just housekeeping. We have 3 industrial scale kitchens for various purposes. 4 if you count pastries. Security teams. Contact companies for large events. Teams of engineers in every specialty. I don't even know where the office is, but we do have one. I'm one of the more knowledgeable on where to find items for special requests, and I still find new storage rooms every other week. We found a 1930s printing press nobody knew we had. It's ducking wild how many moving parts there are. Flipping 500 rooms in a day while setting up for 1 million weddings simultaneously. Fulfilling 100 room service orders while catering those weddings while running our restaurant. Fixing a leaky shower head in the pool while ensuring a guest had an extra couch in their room for the kid that just loves couch beds. All of this together is called an average Tuesday in summer. Thanks for watching. Consider subscribing for more videos.